So tonight presentation, we have Dr. Venerable Jue Wei, who is here with us today, all the way from Australia. Venerable Jue Wei is head of program of Humanistic Buddhism, director of the Humanistic Buddhism Center, and senior lecturer at Nantian Institute in Australia. She teaches subjects related to humanistic Buddhism and Chinese Buddhism, supported by her research and development that revolves around acculturation and application of Buddhist teachings in the modern world. She also authored Parodying the Buddha, localizing Buddha's birthday celebrations. So thank you. Please join me with your hands in welcoming Venerable today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can everybody see my share screen? Is that all right? Okay, good. Thank you. So, auspicious greetings, venerables, ladies and gentlemen. It's so good to see everyone. I'm just so excited to meet many of my friends, my partners in a lot of adventures in the past, as well as now also making many new friends. Thank you to the Shifang Temple for organizing this forum, and to Venerable Miao Zhang for so kindly inviting me here. And of course, I'm grateful to everyone, the 50-some people online, for taking the time to be with me today. I want to welcome you to just relax. We're going to start with a little mindful check-in. It's a very short session for us to relax our body and to soften our mind. So you just make yourself very comfortable, sitting upright. And then gently close your eyes.
Your name. Change your name.
Let's relax
I didn't know that you're
our forehead. Relax our eyes. Facial muscles. Relax. Relax our neck muscles. Shoulders. Upper arms. Lower arms. Hands and fingers. Let them go. Next, bring our attention to our back. Relax our spinal column, one vertebra at a time. Relax our thigh muscles, calf muscles, feet, and toes. Relax. Feel our body relaxing. And now, let's bring our attention to the tip of our nose. Let's watch every in-breath and out-breath. Without control and without judgment. Just watching it flow. For the next 1 minute. As we feel our body relax, I hope we can also find our mind softening. For some, it's been a long day. For some others, it's very early in the morning. And still others, it may be midday. From wherever we've come, let's slowly and silently repeat this set of phrases to ourselves. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be comfortable and at peace. Continue to repeat these words in your mind and in your heart. Notice any changes you may feel. Breathe. Breathe the words into your heart. And gently open your eyes and look into the screen. And let's silently also repeat, may you be happy. May you be well. May you be comfortable and at peace. Thank you very much for joining me in this very short check-in, so that we are present and also we have extended some metta or loving kindness to ourselves as well as to everyone on screen. This is the beautiful tradition of Australia. May I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of our land. I would like to start my sharing today by acknowledging the Dharawal people as the traditional owners of the land on which Nantian Institute resides. I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all are, and I pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging, and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters on which we now have the privilege to enjoy. How do you feel now? I hope that you feel connected with yourself, to one another, to our ancestors, and to our lands and waters. We come back to this sense of connectedness again and again today. And I hope that we can maintain such connectedness within ourselves and with everything around us. First, I'd like to thank my partner in faith for over a decade, Nancy Cowarden, for this painting called The Buddha Bus. She honored me with this particular painting, which I thought is really interesting. And today I'd like to frame my sharing around self-compassion, around the Four Noble Truths, the framework of the Four Noble Truths that I hope that everyone is familiar with. So does anybody recall what the first Noble Truth may be? Anybody would like to unmute and say what the first Noble Truth is? Anyone? First Noble Truth? Please feel free.
There is suffering.
There is suffering. Thank you so much. Yes. The first truth is that of suffering. The truth of suffering actually reminds me that human life is messy, whether you like it or not. The messy business of being human. And I think this particular painting from Nancy helps me to absorb in that messiness. But at the same time, we could be riding that Buddha bus. So how can we get onto that Buddha bus? I'd like to invite you to make a list now of any suffering that you may be feeling, or if you have any kind of suffering that is stuck in your memory, or any particular suffering that you may have encountered in the recent past. So would you like to just take a minute now to write down what may be some suffering that you encounter? Let's take a minute to do that. Sorry? Sorry, is there a question to me? And when you're ready, I'd like to invite you to open the participants list. And in the participants list, you will see at the bottom, there is such a thing called yes, no, yes, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you can use yes or no. You can click on yes or no in response to those questions, right? Are you ready writing down some things that may be considered suffering to you? If so, here's the first question. Do you have at least one item on your list? Do you have at least one suffering in your life right now? So if you open the participants list, you can click on it. Just open the participants list, and right at the bottom of that list, you will see yes, no. And you just need to hit that. Do you have at least one item on the list? Do you have at least one suffering? It's okay, we won't know who you are. This is completely anonymous. It's perfectly fine. Whatever your answer is, it's just a simple yes, no. Great. Yeah, just click on it, yes, no. That's all. Great. So it looks like 47 of us have at least one suffering, and very fortunate is one person who is not experiencing any suffering. Well, for those of you who have some suffering, and for the 8 of you who have some suffering, would you like to reduce or remove the suffering on your list? Yes or no? Okay, it looks like majority of us, like 44 of us, would like to reduce or remove the suffering on our list, and 2 persons are very happy with what they've got so far. Good. Now the third question. Would you like to experience genuine transformation out of that suffering? So a transformation. So it's not just a removal of suffering. It's not just a reduction of suffering. It's a transformation. Very interesting. So I see that everyone who has clicked the 49 wants to see a genuine transformation, whether you have a suffering or not. Well, thank you so much for participating in this with me. I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to find my mouse again. Sorry. So what this is telling me, this quick exercise proves two things. One, we are not alone in suffering. Two, we are not alone in wanting to drive away the pains of the world. So the question, of course, is how and what we want. Or is it what we really want at the end of this journey? So now it brings me to the second noble truth. What is the second noble truth? Everyone, anybody wants to unmute and share with me what you think the second noble truth is?
I remember that the second noble truth is there are causes of the suffering.
Yes, thank you. You from Canberra in Australia. Hi. Yes, so there are causes and conditions leading to our suffering. So it's the origin of suffering. So many schools of Buddhism believe that the main reason for suffering is our ignorance. Ignorance to take what is impermanent as permanent and what is interconnected as independent. So any attempt to objectify happiness or even to objectify suffering or any attempt to say, I want happiness, I want something called happiness, is bound to end in suffering. Now, I've never quite appreciated the second noble truth until for the past almost 20 years, I have to live in a diverse community. I'm forced to realize that not everyone thinks, speaks, and acts like me. So why should I expect them to agree with me and take that disagreement with me as suffering? Why should I also, and now that I'm aging and visibly aging, why should I expect my body to cope with the abuses I put it through when all along I've ignored its calls for help? And when I keep insisting on not slowing down, but rather to treat the body as though I'm forever 25. And when it starts complaining, there are reasons for doing so. So the minute I start to appreciate these conditions, I notice something different. And that brings me to the third noble truth. What is the third noble truth, my friends? Anybody?
Oh, no.
The cessation of suffering.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, there is the cessation of suffering. Now, I put cessation in quotes because I'm now starting to identify something else with this term called nirvana. Very often, the third noble truth says there is such a thing called nirvana. And nirvana often is translated into cessation of suffering. But recently, I've had a rather different experience. I would rather see nirvana as a transformed consciousness towards suffering. A transformed consciousness towards suffering. And that's what I meant by the genuine transformation I spoke about earlier. And this transformed consciousness stems from our very own Buddha nature. And I see this in our founder of Fo Guangshan, Venerable Master Xing Yun. I'm most amazed with a 94-year-old, technically blind and deaf monk sitting in a wheelchair telling the world that he's not ill. He's just a little inconvenienced. He continues to give the world his wisdom through his one-stroke calligraphy, and he does not stop gifting anyone who wishes to listen to him. I see him living in this transformed consciousness where he does not see suffering as suffering. This is the life of a human bodhisattva. He does not resist suffering. He does not moan and groan. He does not complain. He does not succumb to the forces of Mara, but instead continue to show the best of humanity, what we'd like to call the Buddha nature. And so that now whenever I think of myself as suffering, I think of Venerable Master Xing Yun, my teacher. I think of what the Buddha has gone through, what the great sages are made of. And so this inevitably leads me to the fourth noble truth, which is, anybody? Anybody like to share what the fourth noble truth is?
A path leading to the cessation of suffering.
Thank you so much. There is a path leading to the cessation of suffering. And for today, I will focus on one part of this path called self-compassion, because Venerable Miao Zhang would like me to talk about it. However, I have to warn you, like I did at the beginning, I'm not the best practitioner of self-compassion. And hence, when she told me to do this, I readily accepted this challenge in order to learn more about this concept and to recalibrate myself and to share with you my research and reflections to show you how I think that maybe I was more self-compassionate than I thought. So since I'm a researcher at heart, I started with research. I tried to look up how self-compassion can be a marga or a path. I found a person called Dr. Kristin Neff, whose research on self-compassion resonates well with me, but I will build on it towards the end with my personal reflections. So Dr. Kristin Neff, by way of introduction, is Associate Professor of Educational Psychology at the University of Texas at Austin. She states that self-compassion is based off Buddhist psychology, which of course piqued my interest in her findings, and especially also because she's a practitioner of insight meditation. So this is what she says. Compassion is opening one's awareness to others' pain and not avoiding or disconnecting from it, so that feelings of kindness towards others and the desire to alleviate their suffering can emerge. And self-compassion then is being touched by and open to my own suffering, not avoiding or disconnecting from it, but instead generating a desire to want to alleviate, to reduce that suffering and to heal myself with kindness. So I noticed earlier when we talked about suffering, 44 of us would really want to do that, to alleviate that suffering. The messy business of being human that I talked about earlier. Messy because we make mistakes, because we cannot please everyone. Messy because there are things beyond our control. And that's why I started with the metta meditation. So Angelica, I'm so sorry I stopped your meditation in order to inject my metta meditation in there, because I wanted to bring it in to say that that's a way for us to combine self-compassion and also compassion for others by reminding ourselves that I wish myself to be happy. I wish myself to be well. I wish myself to be comfortable and at peace. And by generating that kindness to myself, I can generate the same for everyone else for my needs. And in order to practice compassion and self-compassion, let's offer understanding, non-judgmental understanding, understanding that we are equal. We are equal in our inadequacies and our failures as human, because we are human. So self-compassion, I want to just quickly go through a few misunderstandings about self-compassion. People think of self-compassion. Could it be self-centeredness? Well, not really. Because self-centeredness means concern with my own wants and needs and never thinks about other people. But that's not what self-compassion is. It does not involve being self-centered. You realize in the metta meditation, soon after I wish myself happiness, well-being, comfort, and peace, we will extend the same message to others. But also at the same time, after that, you notice I also made the acknowledgement of country, that the constant reminder of our interconnectedness, that we are all equal because we are brothers and sisters in suffering. We are equal and connected in that sense. Self-compassion is also not self-pity. Self-pity is an emotion that's directed towards others with the goal of attracting attention. So I'm pitying and feeling sorry for myself in order to attract attention from others so others can take more notice of me. But self-compassion is not. It comes from a balanced state. And that's why meditation is so important. It comes from clear seeing and acceptance. And I'm going to talk about what we clearly see. That's why I have to go back to the Four Noble Truths. We have to clearly see the causes and conditions, and therefore be able to accept whatever is happening around me as they arise. And lastly, self-compassion is not inaction. It's not passivity, because self-compassion is actually active. It's actively giving myself compassion. It provides safety for me. And it allows me to more accurately see what's going on in terms of my thoughts, my speech, and my actions. It helps me for optimal functioning and health. And it's encouraged by gentleness and patience. So Kristen Neff gives us 3 phases of self-compassion. She says, self-compassion consists of self-kindness, and that is extending kindness and understanding to oneself rather than harsh judgment and criticism. Okay, self-kindness. So when I do something wrong, or when I hurt myself, I don't go, say, you again. It's always you. Why are you repeating that again? Now stop that self-talk. But to stop the self-talk, we need to first notice that self-talk. And that's why mindfulness is important. Another phase of compassion is to recognize common humanity, seeing one's experience as part of the larger human experience. We grow through the mistakes that we make. We develop resilience. So rather than seeing those experience, oh, I failed my test again, as something separate, make it a part of me, a part of my experience, and a part of being who I am. I'm not going to blame my eyes just because I'm short-sighted and I have to wear spectacles. No, in fact, it gives me an opportunity to have different types of spectacles to wear for different occasions, when I have to look near and when I have to look far. Third, mindfulness. The ability to hold our painful thoughts and feelings in balanced awareness, rather than over-identifying. So that's where mindfulness comes in, and they come through practice. So this is where I would like to add my reflections based on Kristen's empirical research that brought her to these 3 phases of self-compassion. I want to talk about our fountain of goodness. That is our Buddha nature. Buddha nature I see as that fountain of goodness from which our human virtues flow, and it's available to every one of us. So the Buddhist sages tell us, all of us have the Buddha nature. That means when we encounter difficulties in our lives, when we encounter those messiness, we can turn on our own fountain. We have that switch, we have that control all within us. If we believe that we are already Buddhas, we can always turn on our Buddha nature and go back to our metta prayer. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be comfortable and at peace. Or any other trait that's necessary to calm myself down from the situation. For example, may I be patient. May I appreciate the other. May I be equanimous. Whatever that will work. Because all these virtues are already in us. And now I appreciate very much why Venerable Master Xing Yun says, I am Buddha. And to constantly to tell us to repeat to ourselves, I am Buddha. Because it's part of my nature. Next, when we have settled down, then it is time to see the causes and conditions. Learn to stand at a distance, as this moment too shall pass. we might have to create some space to allow for that mindfulness and balance, to go back to the Dharma of impermanence and non-self, to go back to examining the situation, what causes the conflict, what causes the pain. And that is why breath work, our breathing, or some mindfulness practice, be it chanting, calligraphy, writing, is so very important when we are well. We must not wait till time of crisis to bring in the practice. We may not think of the practice at that time. So when we are well, when we have time on our hands, when we are in isolation, this is a good time to go back to our breath, go back to the chanting, go back to our sutra reading, go back into training the mind to be in a balanced state. When we can create that habit of chanting, of metta prayer, of meditation, then during times of need, for example, when we lie on the hospital bed, when we're in physical or mental pain, we can very easily revert to that state of peace again, to that metta prayer. Then it will make sense. Otherwise, my heart is going up and down, up and down. It's very hard for me to get back into a state of calm. So at this point, I'd like to invite everyone to go into breakout groups. I'm going to request Saiba, if you can, to break us up into maybe groups of 4 or so. And this is the instruction, okay? I hope that within your breakout rooms for about 10 minutes, we can have an opportunity to introduce ourselves, to get to know one another, because we come from around the world. And then take a look at your own suffering list that you made just now, if you did. Try to go over what I've said earlier, based on the research, based on my thoughts about the fountain of goodness, about our Buddhist practice. And the goal is to design your own self-compassion practice. What do you think from what I've said, from what has been presented, and from your own Buddhist practice that you could list as your own self-compassion practice that you can take on board after this class, or that can reinforce if you already have one, and share that within your group. So you may decide to try something traditionally Buddhist, like chanting and meditation, or you may take a photo of what's on the slide now, which is some secular practice from Dr. Kristen Neff on ways to bring ourselves, to anchor ourselves again. You're welcome, of course, to take a photo, and we'll give you about maybe 10 or so minutes within your groups to discuss that. Is that clear? Any questions? Is that clear what we need to do in our breakout groups? The goal is to design your own self-compassion practice that you can go to. It could be just one simple thing, or it could be a list of things like here, that what Kristen has done. Questions? Any? If not, then may I please trouble Saiba to open the breakout rooms for us?
Sure.
Wow. I hope everyone had an interesting time in your discussion group. I wonder if everybody is back yet. Have we lost a few?
They're coming. They're coming. They're coming back.
I see many smiles.
It's cool the way that works.
Wow. You have no choice. You've got to come back. When we run breakout groups in Nantian Institute, very often I have to run around the entire building trying to coax everyone to come back to the main room. My students. But with technology, we are all back. So welcome back, everyone. I'm so sorry that we have to cut short your discussion. But in the interest of time, may I just invite you in the chat to share any insights that you have had from your discussion. Okay, and then we all can go into the chat and look at everybody. Wisdom. Okay, so if you just go to the chat, there's a chat box at the bottom of the screen. If you open that, you can just key in that. What have you learned about putting together a self-compassion kit for yourself? Pause and reflections, that's right. Reflections are so important, that we all are so self-critical. That's so true. So we'll have to moderate ourselves. But sometimes it takes that reflection, right, for us to see it. Yes. 5 aggregates teaches us not to be too hard on ourselves. To forgive. Very important to forgive. Asking for repentance, not actually from an external entity, but just forgive ourselves. We all have some practices. So practice means you have to practice. Yes, no good to be angry at ourselves, doesn't help. So helping ourselves, give more positive energy to help the community. That's so important to help others. To recognize our problems are small in the bigger scheme of things. Yeah, when we step back, that's what we'll find. I am Buddha, indeed. So healing and gentle, isn't it? To know that we have the fountain of goodness in us. So transformative. To feel compassion for others and myself while suffering. Thank you. Always remember to dedicate merits and to share our compassion to others. It warms our hearts. Yes, so real. Yeah. All ways are valid. Yeah. Always be positive. Live a well-balanced life. Oh, being human is like a guest house. Treat emotion as a new guest in our house. Invite them in and accept them. Yay, how good. Find ways to calm our minds. Thank you. Being compassionate to ourselves allows us to feel more compassionate to others, right? Certainly so. That's what the metta prayer does. Shift to a broader perspective. Yes, yes. Realize our basic intention is good and not malicious. That's because of our Buddha nature. So powerful. Now, please keep the flow of your insights going, because that chat is going to be so powerful. At the end, you can save chat. That's what it allows you to do, so that our wisdom will stay with us from today. Oh, you all have the answers. You don't need me. So we sometimes are a lot more self-compassionate than we think we are. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to attempt to share screen with you again. I hope you can see the screen. So now that we have the sharing, I just like to summarize with this. I think we can be self-compassionate by turning drama into Dharma. And we all have the ability to do so. Self-compassion is a form of Dharma. It means generating that desire to alleviate one's suffering and offering non-judgmental understanding to the pain that we feel, any inadequacies or failures that we may have. It means recognizing that my experience is seen as interdependent with others, because that's human. That's the human life. We are interconnected. However, we need practice. We need practice so that in moments when we really need self-compassion, it comes forward to us. So we cannot expect to be perfect on the first go. So we should be compassionate towards ourselves, be patient, and allow ourselves to grow. So over time, I found my mantra, wake up, get up, light up. That's my mantra. That's your Jue Wei mantra, my gift to you. Anytime you have any difficulties, just tell ourselves, let's wake up. That whatever we are feeling now is Dharma. There is Dharma. And that Dharma allows us then to wake up. And that's what Buddhism is. It's awakening. It helps us to awaken. So it awakens to the fact that there is suffering in the world, but we can transform our consciousness towards that suffering. It's not telling the suffering to go away. Sometimes we can't. There may be systemic reasons for the suffering to take place. So then what do? We transform our consciousness. We go back to our Buddha nature. We go understand the nature of that pain. We have to get up from our comfort zone of being so comfortable complaining, being so comfortable in our pains. But I know that this group doesn't, because most of you have clicked yes. You want to transform that pain. You want to escape, or rather not escape, to reduce that pain. But really, because of interdependence, it is about lighting up. It's lighting up ourselves to think of the broader world. That is what allows the lighting up. And that's, I think, the practice. To wake up, to get up, and to light up the world with that fountain of goodness that is inside of us. And to do that, one of the things that I've done that has helped me to come to this state is our weekly Sunday check-in sessions that we run here in the Nantian Institute. It's 11 o'clock my time usually, so that's about several hours before this start time. And every Sunday from now till the end of the year, for just 30 minutes, an opportunity to build a practice of mindful pauses and reflections, so that we can examine this fountain of goodness that we have and how we have woken up, gotten up, and how we can light up the world. As a result of preparing for this talk and also many other talks over the year, I've just counted that this year, COVID year, I've given 45 different media talks. But as a result of each of these talks, it has helped me to build a better understanding of Nantian Institute's goal, which is to pave a road to an enlightened education. We run the world's first graduate certificate in Humanistic Buddhism, and I now see it as a way of building bridges. So the picture I see here is Nantian Institute. So I'm sitting in, I don't know if you can see this little corner right here. This is the Institute, this little corner at the top. I'm sitting right here talking to everyone, and I'm connected via a bridge to the sacred Nantian Temple. All this is Nantian Temple grounds, and we have very huge Nantian Institute grounds. But I see that this bridge is connecting the sacred with the secular, the East with the West, connecting our hearts together, East and West. So we're building bridges, we're building understanding. So that bridge is also building inwards towards us, building bridge towards our fountain of goodness. So to round off the session, I'd like us to dedicate the merits of today's sharing to all sentient beings. So if you just give me a minute, I'm going to play this. Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows. May we all always be happy. May we all always be well. May we be comfortable and at peace. And may everyone that we interact with always be happy, be well, be comfortable, and be at peace. Let's remember to always remain compassionate to ourselves and to everyone we come into contact with, one day at a time, every day. All the very best. I now hand you back to our host, Angelica, and have a good rest of the evening of the day. Thank you.
Wonderful and beautiful talk. We are really grateful for having you today and the opportunity to hear your words of wisdom on the topic of self-compassion. So thank you so much.